Hi everyone, you're very welcome to our channel NarcCon with myself and Remy, where we deal with all things in relation to the narcissistic personality disorder in order to make sense of what happened to us in a relationship with a narcissist, because we need to make sense of this in order to heal and move forward and in understanding what happened to us. So today I'd like to cover when you leave the narcissist, expect these things to happen. Going through this scenario will help you identify whether you were possibly with a narcissist, along with all the other behaviours that you would have learned about, because the person's not going to go to a psychologist for you in order for you to understand the relationship dynamic and what you went through. And particularly if they were a narcissist, they will not, or usually do not, do this. So before we get into it, I'm going to take this scenario of you leaving the narcissist and what to expect from three different angles, from three different stages of leaving, from you threatening to leave so the narcissist knows you're going to leave, to you not telling the narcissist you're going to leave, and to actually leaving unexpectedly, and what to expect from a person who has a narcissistic personality disorder and from a toxic relationship ending. Typical things that will happen when you're dealing with a narcissist. Before I get into this, if anybody's listening to this on a podcast and can't see it, what I'm about to do is to hold up a painting that was done by my lovely daughter-in-law, Ruth, a few years ago, actually, of our mascot, our channel mascot, who is so full of wisdom, it's just not true, about narcissists. And this is Remy that I'm talking about, who also helps to co-produce and keep an eye on the recording, usually from a point of slumber on the sofa. However, he keeps us in check and he times the podcasts very well. So Remy is very adept at signalling and understanding when he passes a narcissistic person. He understands the full extent of the personality disorder, and he has some great words of wisdom that he will often put up in the community page for us to abide by and remember when we're going out, lest we forget. And Remy's reaction to meeting a narcissist is usually and he'll sneeze and he'll go by, but he's definitely not impressed with narcissists. The best nose I've ever come across for discovering one. So this painting was done by my daughter-in-law, and it's of Remy, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And it kind of gets his personality very well. So the reason I'm saying this is, for years I've been on YouTube and have never done this, but we're going to set up a shop on YouTube. I think they call them merch stores. I'm really getting into the lingo here. And it's going to feature Remy. So the merch store is basically going to have, coming this weekend, I think, or at least early next week, if you want to keep an eye out for it, hats and bags and mugs and things with the logo Remy Says. Because I think when we see that, it brings us right back to all the things we know about narcissists if we find ourselves getting carried away, or if we just need a gentle reminder on a day that it's okay and it's going to be okay. Now, thank you for putting up with me telling you about this, and I will tell you more as time goes forward. Let's get into the topic of the video, and thank you for your patience. So the stages of leaving. If you are in, and particularly in an intimate relationship, but this applies to other relationships as well, with people that have narcissistic personality disorder, if you have had enough and you threaten to leave the narcissist, the first reaction generally of the narcissist, or the consequent reaction, would be to hoover you, would be to love bomb you back into the relationship, to convince you not to leave the relationship, and to bring back the first stages of the relationship with also a lot of future faking about how things are going to change. Maybe they'll even offer to go to therapy, whatever it takes to get you to stay in the relationship. And now, unfortunately, this is not for a good reason. The reason the narcissist cannot be left is that the narcissist always has to be in control. So you having the audacity to take control of the situation, and not only take control of the situation by saying that you're going to leave this wonderful god or goddess, by implication, you're implying that they're faulty, that there's something wrong with them, that they're not for you, no matter how lovingly you put it. They take great offense at this, and it's literally a narcissistic injury. Now, the reason they will try and hoover you back in and stop you from leaving, and they will do everything in their power to do this, is because they want to leave you first. So a lot of people get totally blindsided by the narcissist's promises of improvement and the relationship getting better when they threaten seriously to leave the relationship and look for it to end, and maybe even go as far as, telling the narcissist they're going to see a lawyer to get a divorce or do whatever they have to do to extricate themselves from that relationship. They're often very blindsided by the fact that months later, the narcissist up and ghosts them and leaves. Because when you let a narcissist know your intention, and even if you hint at that intention, narcissists are extremely paranoid and hypervigilant about how you are reacting, and they learn your personality, and any kind of little hint that you may be taking an action against them will be blown out of all proportion, and they will think that you're leaving them, because they have to have a radar-like sense of you and what you're going to do. If you're their main source of supply, they need to have that type of X-ray vision about you and jump in there before you do it. And I'll bet you, because I know this happened to me, when you're getting annoyed at the narcissist or putting in boundaries, you may not have thought of leaving them, but you may be thinking, well, 6 months down the line, if this doesn't improve, I may leave them. The narcissist will pick up on that, will overreact, and will actually exit the relationship before you do, just to be the winner, just to be the one that walked away. Okay, so they hoover you back in if they think that you're going to leave them. And even if you're not going to leave them, but are just getting dissatisfied, any hint that you're putting in boundaries and attempting to take any control of your situation or relationship will see them zooming out the door as fast as their little legs can carry them. When they actually know that you're leaving and you're making arrangements, they've had a lawyer's letter or whatever, or they know that you're serious about leaving them, i.e. you planned to go to live in a new place, or you've moved some of your stuff out. What they will do in this particular circumstance, and this is why it is very, very important, if you cohabit with a narcissist, if you work with a narcissist, if you've anything to lose that a narcissist has something over you on, even in a family situation, you do not let the enemy know what your intentions are, because they will use that intel to come at you, and as narcissists always try to do, put you down, destroy you, so that they can come out victorious in their minds, maintaining control because of their personality disorder. So I have a list here, and I'm going to get into this, is when they know you're leaving. And the next section and the main part of the podcast is when you leave unexpectedly, what will the narcissist do generally, typically? So this is when they know you're leaving for sure. They will make it as hard as possible for you to do that. Now, this is in the circumstance where the hoovering, the promises, and the love bombing haven't worked, and they didn't know before that you were going to leave, but this time they know for sure you're leaving. They'll make it as hard as possible, and that means physically, logistically, and for every avenue they will put an obstacle in your way. They will still love bomb you in the attempt that that will have a bad effect on you after you leave. You may doubt yourself. It's very difficult for a normal person who loves another person dearly to have gone through and shared, in effect, a trauma bond, because a relationship with a narcissist is traumatic. To have put a lot of effort into that relationship and to have had a lot of hopes and dreams of this relationship succeeding and it being presented in a very beautiful package in the beginning and even seeming to be too good to be true. When something seems too good to be true, question it. So they will, at points, they'll be very volatile in their behaviour generally. And this is if they don't totally withdraw from you altogether. They will continue to sporadically love bomb you so that you will be left very confused with that as a memory for you to take and for you to sustain yourself when you do leave the relationship, when you may be having doubts. Did I do the right thing? Should I have given it more time? Hopefully you'll be on these channels getting the information about what the narcissistic personality disorder is and understanding that having a relationship with a person who has a personality disorder that is extremely toxic and malignant and has been very destructive towards you, that's not going to come right by going back to them. The next thing they'll do is they'll send in their flying monkeys to put doubts in your head again, to praise the narcissist, to say, oh my goodness, and the narcissist loves you so much, and to make you feel like you're the bad person. And you will be feeling so bad anyway because it goes against your grain and it takes such discipline, such focus of your mind, such hardening of yourself to make yourself go through with this, because it feels totally foreign to you and your personality to actually even stand up to for yourself against somebody else and to respect yourself enough to get out of that situation and hold your empathy for yourself. It's very difficult to do when you're used to looking after other people and you don't want to hurt anyone. If someone is saying, please don't, it's very, very difficult, but it's very, very essential. You will lose yourself in that relationship. You will become a shell of yourself. You will lose your assets. You will lose your mind. You will lose your health. You may lose your friends and you may lose your family. So there are big losses that are, and even at that, you're not going to make the relationship work. So these things need to be looked at to drive you forward into recovering from, even if you've been discarded, to recovering and not wanting to go back to a narcissist. To remind your brain, because your brain is driving you. Your brain is saying, well, once that person, was great with that person and, that could be for your survival. That was a good place to be. And you have to override all the subconscious messages that the narcissist gave you, that they were the one for you and that you weren't good on your own. So that all has to be reprogrammed subconsciously, and you have to work on your brain to keep giving it the messages saying, no brain, no. It's a no-brainer, basically. Say, no brain, no, we're not going back there. You got that wrong. You have a virus in there and we need to get rid of that virus and download a new program. I've said this before many times on podcasts. It's about reprogramming your brain after narcissistic abuse. It's as simple as that and as mundane as that. At least that's one of the main cohorts of recovery from a narcissist. Okay, getting back to they know you're leaving and what are they going to do? They'll send in the flying monkeys. Okay, number 4, they'll be making background plans to scupper your attempts to leave successfully and peacefully. They'll be cleaning out bank accounts. They'll be causing problems in the property. They'll be intercepting your mail. They'll be doing whatever they can to make it as difficult as possible for you to get out. They won't be passing messages on that you should get maybe from the removal company coming to take your stuff. They'll literally make it a nightmare. What they'll also have to do is They will be doing, setting up their own PR campaign and saying, twisting it all around to people in their inner circle or anyone that listens to them, that this is their idea, that they've asked you to leave because you're impossible to live with. They just can't live with you. And this will be 10 minutes after asking you, to stay and saying they love you and that you're an amazing person and, that they'll go to therapy and change. Literally within 10 minutes, they're on to someone saying, no, the relationship couldn't work out. Not at all. She's crazy. Or he's a nutter, a total nutter. Couldn't live with him. I never told you before. I know I never told you before. I'm just telling you now that it's happening. I've been suffering for a very long time and it's a terrible situation altogether. Okay, so they'll be making background plans and they'll be doing a PR campaign. I'm just trying to make out what I've written down here. I can't make that out. Okay, the next thing I have is they'll make threats as well as the intermittent love bombing. They'll say things like, if you leave me now, you will never see the kids again. I will take them away from you. No matter what you do, you think you're going to be able to sort it. You're not going to be able to see them again. How can you do this to me and the children? That kind of stuff will go on. That kind of emotional blackmail will go on. Notwithstanding, like they may have been having 10 affairs, gambling all your, money, or just being a narcissist. Just being a narcissist and abusing you and devaluing you. You stand up for yourself and they will make all the threats, anything that will make you stop, that'll make you reverse your plan so that they can leave you, so that they can get into a better situation. Okay, so the main part of the podcast was when you leave unexpectedly. Let's have the situation where you're in a toxic relationship. You've even gone to therapy on the narcissist suggestion because there's definitely something wrong with you. I mean, obviously, the narcissist thinks, sorry about my sarcasm, the narcissist thinks there's something wrong with you because you're no longer skivvying for them. You're no longer, in slave mode for them. So you've gone to therapy and the therapist has been aware of narcissistic abuse. And you've gotten onto some of these channels and you've understood that what you're actually dealing with matches nearly on every point for point, with the narcissistic personality disorder. So you make a decision and you decide you've put up with it for long enough. You can't take any more. You know that they're not going to change, no matter how much, and we call it now in this community, toxic hope. Toxic hope is you hoping that when they keep doing the same thing over and over again, that there's a possibility that their core identity and personality is going to change. And it's understandable why we would have toxic hope, because they're very, very good at creating illusions and creating fake realities for us to buy into, particularly when they paint nice pictures temporarily. So you leave unexpectedly. So they'd no idea you were leaving. Everything was your fault and you seemed to be taking the blame. You were in therapy and whatever. You weren't arguing with them. You were just going about your business because you didn't want the narcissist to know that you were leaving. They will hoover you intently with a victim-style love bomb. So it'll be very, very convincing because you're actually escaping. So if you can imagine a prisoner escaping and there's a whole big road of freedom ahead of them. And the only way you can get them back is to try and lasso them with a noose around their neck so you can pull them back in. They will literally be doing what I'd call a lasso hoover. The best hoover you'll ever have come across, the most convincing hoover, to get you to come back. And they'll be making you feel sorry for them. They'll be playing at all points of your vulnerabilities. The love, the compassion, the empathy, the don't do this, that's really cruel to do this, and that's not who you are. It's not who you are. You're a lovely person. You're a kind person. So I know that you won't do this to us. And it's to us. It's not to me, but it is about the narcissist is to me. It's quite similar to what they do when they know that you're thinking of leaving, but it's very much more intense. And they may even, whereas they wouldn't have admitted anything wrong before, they may even say, I'll definitely go to therapy. Please give me another chance. I know that there's something, that I'm not always great. God, you'll pay for that. I tell you, if you go back to them, they will make you pay for making them having to have said that and having to have said sorry. It'll last a few days or a week or however long they need to make their escape plan from you to get rid of you. And I'm sorry to be so very direct about this, but time and time again, this happens with narcissists. So this is 99% what's going to happen, unless there's something else they have to get from you, and they'll stay longer than a week or a month. They'll stay a few years and then give you a dreadful discard when they're in a great position to maybe strip you of your assets. So be very, very careful here if you've made a decision to leave. You've literally drawn a sword to a narcissist, and narcissists will never forgive you for drawing a sword against them. The flying monkeys will be, there'll be a drama. There's flying monkeys going to be flying in from everywhere. They're going to be flying in from the States, from Russia, from England, from Ireland, from Taiwan, from Honolulu, from Australia. Anyone that can make a difference will be flying in and landing on your doorstep to convince you that this is a really bad idea. They will also, again, it's an escalated reaction of when you're actually with them and threatening to leave and not leaving. But they will make serious threats about what they're going to do if you leave them. And they may even have hinted at this along the way, that, should you ever leave them, it wouldn't be good. Because the last person that left them, and generally narcissists bring a third person in to say, my friend did this, to his partner when he left or she left. They'll generally say, my ex didn't come off well when she left me. People don't cross me, that kind of thing. To make you fear that they're more powerful or resourceful than they actually are. It's building on fear. So it's again like an escalated or stronger manipulation when you would have maybe felt like you're walking on eggshells in a relationship with a narcissist because they're of the unpredictable nature of their reactions when they have you in a kind of push-pull situation. So the idea that you're really going to suffer by leaving them, and this can even be a serious threat. I'm talking the worst threat possible that they can make against you, being in fear of your very existence. So there are some very malignant narcissists that are verging on sociopathic or psychopathic. And who are we to know, to what extent, to what extent a person, if they're displaying signs of being a narcissist, and we don't know because, they need a formal diagnosis, but we can't get them to get a formal diagnosis. So we have to make a decision based on the behaviour patterns we've learned about and what that narcissist has shown us. But we don't know the extent of their toxicity, of their psychopathy. And it may only, come to the fore when you are leaving them, when you're escaping from them. So do this really, really carefully, please. Again, violence and intimidation. Relationships with narcissists can go on for years and can be verbally abusive and toxic, psychologically and spiritually. The physical element, You know, they may start to throw things, say, in a room, or they may rage and shout with a lot of presence, physical presence, like come over on top of you and shout in your face. Or when they're shouting, they go, woo, and woo. It is scary. So often that is the beginning of physical violence towards somebody. So it can vamp up, even though you say, oh no, my narcissist was never physical with me. Look at that sentence. Were you ever afraid with the narcissist? Because that escalates incrementally, particularly if you are remaining you and are putting in boundaries. And again, if anyone has experienced this, years of no physical stuff and then physical towards the end. So let us know in the comments. It's a terrible situation where people stay with narcissists because the narcissist has threatened that they will take custody of the children if you have joint children together. This is one of the hardest ones to navigate. And this is why if you are exiting from a relationship with a narcissist, there's a lot of pre-planning needs to go into this. And if anyone wants coaching on how to go about that, there's details in the description. But really, this needs to be planned out because this is one of the things narcissists will just use the children as total tools of manipulation. Their children are seen as being owned by them, being extensions of them, being made to reflect glory onto them, and being used as tools to manipulate the other parent. So they're used, basically they're weaponized against you. And particularly if you've left, you will get solicitors or attorney letters coming to you about how bad a parent you are and the fact that they'll be looking for full custody if you don't give them all of your assets or something to that effect. They will contact your family maybe and say, oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with Paula. This is terrible. I think she's having a nervous breakdown. Has there been any psychological issues before? I'm really worried about her. She's leaving and I think you need to talk to her because she's making a big mistake here. And feign concern for your psychological and mental well-being. And honestly, your family may say, if they do entertain the narcissist, if the narcissist has managed to convince them, with the mask of the nice guy or the nice gal, well, say, well, Paula, she hasn't been herself lately. And by God, she won't have been herself lately because she'll have been with Mr. Dicky-Doo, who's totally wiping her out, exhausting her, making her feel that she can't make a decision herself. She's living in fear, in chaos, in adrenal fatigue, in hormone imbalance, in dysregulation in every way. And, you won't have been appearing to your family as being stable or psychologically steady, maybe. So the narcissist will play on this. They've done the damage and then they call in the damage, to try and convince your loved ones that the problem is you. And of course, their narcissism will tell them that the problem is you because it will not go to the true self. So it has to maintain control by being superior and will never look at the true self. So will never be accountable. The only time a narcissist is accountable is if it's to be used as a manipulation temporarily. They will say that they will take you to court. They will threaten you with all sorts. They will say you owe them money. Sorry, I couldn't make out my writing again. I'm going to have to write it better. They will say that you owe them money. And in a way, and it could be the total opposite. It could be that they owe you thousands, but that will be totally obliterated, particularly if you don't have proof. They'll say you owe them money, and what they're actually looking for is a payoff. You know, if you don't get to spend time with a narcissist and decide to leave them, unless you're going to suffer in some way more than you already have. So it is so transactional that a narcissist will look for a payoff from you to leave you alone. And that's happening more and more and more. It's like a business deal. It's like a buyout of the business. Like they think a partnership that's an intimate relationship is a business. And of course it is to a narcissist. It's totally a business. There's no emotional attachment whatsoever. The only emotional attachment is anger at you for not having been totally controllable and giving them everything you had at every turn. So, yeah, there's often a money request cloaked as you owe me money. And, you know, they think that you do owe them money because they spend time with you. And they see themselves and other people as commodities. They see themselves as a prize. So pay me or else. Or else they may stalk you. They may stalk you because, one, their narcissism won't allow them to think that you left them because there was something wrong with them. So you have to be cheating because that's what they do. So the projection here, they don't trust. You can't just be leaving them, you know, because you want to be free and healthy. I mean, that wouldn't compute at all because you're the crazy one. So they will stalk you and make sure that you don't have the freedom that you fought so hard for. And they'll try and frighten and intimidate you sometimes by the stalking. Not all of them will do this, but if they don't do it themselves, they may get their friends to do it, or harass you, even with phone calls. Phone calls from numbers you don't know, knickknacks on your door, tires deflated on your car, things to make it more difficult for you to get on with your life as a single person. But little messages, even appearing in your dreams, that may be a step too far for some people, but I believe there's a kind of a spiritual connection and that they can make some type of a transference while you're asleep. And I know that sounds crazy, but so many people have said it to me. The narcissist, I'll dream about the narcissist and they'll either turn up the next day or something will happen. Coincidence, if you want to call it a coincidence, but I believe they invade your spiritual energy, particularly if they have a vendetta against you for daring to leave them. And the last thing I have written down here, and I can actually make this out, they will be like Zippo Zappo on the internet dating sites, because they are, it's like being out of dishwasher tablets. They can't put the dishwasher on again unless they get more tablets. So my supply is gone. Quick. On the internet, we need to replace. Or they have someone in the background, they go on the internet, and then they will go back to the ex and be hoovering the ex, looking for sympathy. So I should never have left you. I should never have left you. And then they'll be defaming your name to the ex and saying what a bad person you are. And it'll be a reversal of what they said to you about their ex. But now the ex is painted into a beautiful light again, and you're painted as the spawn of the devil, and they will use the ex as the transitionary supply, or they go back home to mom or dad and say, oh, poor me, and you know, that awful evil person has gone off and left me high and dry, and get all the attention from the family and sympathy. So guys, if you know anything else that the narcissist did when you left them, and it's a very hard thing to do for anyone to succeed at doing that, given the manipulations they will have gone through in the relationship with the narcissist, and you may not know that you were with a narcissist at that time. It's generally when people are discarded that they find out that they were with a narcissist, because they can't understand how they were left in such a cruel manner. And, they put that in, dumped or cruelly left in the relationship. And then the word narcissist comes up, a narcissistic personality disorder. And now you may say to me, and some people will in the comments, well, Paula, is, exiting the relationship and not letting the narcissist know that you're going, not doing the same thing to them? I'm saying to you, if you've been through years of psychological, spiritual, physical, and any other kind of torture from a person that's consistently done this and followed a behaviour pattern that's malign and malignant, you've been devalued and you've been, scuppered in any kind of success you've had in your life. That's when it's necessary, when they're a dangerous person, to exit without them knowing that you're going to exit. I'm not talking about exiting a loving relationship in that manner. So with a narcissist, all of these horrible things, are in the offing if you leave unexpectedly. And that's why you have to plan it. Plan your safety. Plan that your finances are secure. Plan the legalities of it. Don't tell the narcissist what you're doing. It is not going to be a case of mutually splitting up, doing a great co-parenting job, sharing out the assets, saying, would you like this piece of furniture? I like that piece of furniture. That just is not going to happen, because you are dealing with an emotionally stunted intelligence, coupled with a dark energy that wants to take, that has no empathy built in, that has no care for anybody else other than itself. So that, my friends, in a nutshell, is what I have found to be a general and typical reaction of a narcissist when you leave a narcissist unexpectedly, or the narcissist thinks you're going to leave. And if you agree or disagree, I would love to hear your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to us. And that, I believe they call it, merch shop, will hopefully be open either the weekend or next week. And I will tell you more about the lovely person that is helping me with that, and see, recommend her for sure in relation to anyone else wanting to do a similar thing. Okay, bye for now. Take very good care of yourselves and be very careful if you're planning on leaving a narcissist.